roughly 4,092,850 people that are hungry in Texas on a daily basis. Obviously, this has been growing over the last few decades to even get to this number, so the Feeding Texas Food Charity did something about it in the 1980s. The Feeding Texas Food Charity has helped millions of people, and one of these people was Nancy. Nancy obviously had a disability that prevented her from going to work, and her disability did not pay enough for her to actually get the recommended food that she was supposed to be getting. So she found the Feeding Texas Food Charity to help her with that. All other food charities were able to not accommodate for her medical needs, while the Feeding Texas Food Charity, even like I'm going to talk about later in the future, they have started a traveling food bank that helps people like Nancy who can't get around on a daily basis easily like other people can. My credibility for this is my grandfather. My grandfather has had over 150 foster kids in his home over the 30 years he did foster care, and he obviously didn't have enough money to feed the dozen kids in his home at one time. So what do they do about this? He found the Feeding Texas Food Charity very helpful in providing food for his foster family and anyone else that wanted food, because the Feeding Texas Food Charity had a lot to give because of their donations and their volunteers. Imagine if this was your family. If this was your family, what would you want to happen? You would obviously want the Feeding Texas Food Charity or another charity like this to help, and the Feeding Texas Food Charity has offices all over the state of Texas, so they are very readily available. We're going to be examining the Feeding Texas Food Charity, its past, its present programs, and how you can help in the future to donate your time. Moving on to the past, we'll look at the founder. The founder is Celia Cole. The Feeding Texas Food Charity founder, Celia Cole, started the Feeding Texas Food Charity in 1986. Since then, it's been the largest hunger relief organization in Texas, according to charitynavigator.org on April 24th of 2022. Roughly 1/8 of households struggled to eat during the pandemic, and that's when they started their traveling food bank that's helped many people. I'm going to farther extend the next point. According to Feeding Texas, their Feeding Texas Facebook website, 11% of households have food insecurity, and 28% of children in Texas are hungry. So obviously, this has tremendously helped them. Moving on to the more current organizations, the second point, we look at the present programs that they have. So the Feeding Texas Food Charity started a traveling food bank during the pandemic and coronavirus quarantine to help with the millions of people that could not go to the store to get food or lost jobs due to the coronavirus pandemic. According to feedingtexas.org of April 24th of 2022, the traveling food bank during the pandemic and quarantine helped over 2 million people during that time get the correct food that they needed and the correct security of food that they needed, especially again since stores were closed. They also had a regular food bank that is the biggest outreach of that charity, so they obviously had this really big outreach, and they also donate their food to other smaller food banks in order to get as many people help and as many people fed as they possibly can. So I've already discussed to you the history of Feeding Texas Food Charity, as well as the current programs and the main programs that are present in that food charity. I'm now going to tell you how you can get involved. So we can get involved by volunteering. So you can go to their website and you can simply apply to volunteer for a local food bank or a local charity that they have already, and they're more than willing to accept volunteers. One of the things that is possible for a volunteer to do is to go collect food from food banks or from food boxes or from food drop-off locations, and they are obviously going to be accepting of helping hands of any type, especially since the hunger problem in America, it hasn't slowed down recently. How to donate: you can give monthly, or you can give annually, you can give in the workplace, you can give by mail. All of these things are valuable options because they obviously need help, and because they really, really are just thankful for any type of donation they can get. So many people around Texas, like Nancy, have struggled with this food problem, with food insecurity problem. And since this Feeding Texas Food Charity has helped many people, it's been so impactful. It has also helped Nancy, and since her disability, they obviously aren't able, so they obviously accommodate to many different needs. So, Diana Perdosa.